Hey there, my name is Stephen Pollitt, and if you watched the first video in this extension to the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide, you know that I am the once reluctant and now very enthusiastic creator of Source Energy Medicine. You know, that story still makes me laugh after all these years, and it continues to inspire me deeply to continue to live into my mission and to share Source Energy Medicine every day. In that first video, I talked about how really a tragic series of events led me to making a powerful, life-altering decision, and how many years later, and tens of thousands of dollars later, feeling rejected, frustrated, and angry, I again made a life-altering decision, followed my divine guidance, and created Source Energy Medicine. If you haven't already watched that first video, I'll include a link below this player so that you can easily check that out. And to me, one of the best parts of that story is that in spite of the first 40+ years of my life that were filled with a lot of physical challenges, I have not experienced any signs or symptoms of any of them. And I haven't even had a cold or a flu since 2005. So, you know, you talk about a stark contrast. It's pretty amazing. You know, at times it's hard to believe that that was me. It more often seems like it was a brother or a close friend, maybe a twin brother, in that I know all of the gory details. I was present for all of the drama, and yet it wasn't my experience. Source Energy Medicine, in a lot of ways, enabled me to have a fresh start in life. And as I promised in the first video, in this segment, I'll explain the root cause of all dis-ease, all imbalance, and even what is causing any area of lack imaginable that you could possibly be experiencing, as well as why searching for the cure to a particular dis-ease is an absolutely futile path. And upon this futile path is where I'd like to begin, as I myself lived on that futile path for about 15 years, searching for a cure for the dis-ease and the imbalance that I personally was experiencing, investing tens of thousands of dollars along the way. And my professional research followed that same path for about 7 or 8 years, until one day I had the notion, what if seeking the cure is not the answer? And if it's not, then what is? You know, talk about a kooky notion. And, you know, immediately I thought, how could billions of research dollars invested each year researching for cures be the wrong tact? You know, being left-handed might have helped, as most of the world seems backward to me in a lot of ways. So I embraced this contrarian approach and began searching for the vibrational cause instead of a cure. And if this was indeed a valid thesis, then what would happen when the vibrational cause is transformed? Could the result be what is characterized as the cure? Now, I personally don't use that word much, and that's definitely a can of worms for another day. This thread of thought led me to asking, would that not mean that every disease would have a common vibrational pattern? Would there be, vibrationally speaking, commonality to all virus, to all cancers, to all dis-ease, and transforming this vibration the way it's currently expressing itself, rather than attempting to kill it or to nullify it or to fight it? Could transformation be the answer? Like the principles of yin and yang, could we transform an unfriendly bacteria that is causing dis-ease, like salmonella, for example, into a friendly bacteria that would support our microbiome and help us to digest our food? I'm pretty sure you guessed it by now. The answer is, it turned out to be yes. And this was and remains a primary cornerstone in the foundation of Source Energy Medicine. Over the last 20 years or so, it seemed to me the term root cause has become commonplace in the world of holistic and natural medicine. And it's not only loosely used, it's, in my opinion, grossly misused. To me, this physiological, reductionistic Newtonian model to examine imbalance and dis-ease, going deeper and deeper into anatomy and physiology, mapping out parts of our brain, for example, and then drawing connections between that and other organs and functions and systems, linking this to a particular set of symptoms or dis-ease and calling that a root cause is, in my opinion, completely not accurate. Not accurate then, and it's not accurate today. And what is being described as root causes are, from my perspective, root effects and not root causes. If I look at a physiological root effect and call them a root cause, it's like the iceberg model. If I only look at the tip of the iceberg, I could be missing 90% or more of the challenge because it's underneath the surface and it's not obvious. Certainly root effects are intriguing and offer clues, and yet not very helpful in solving the puzzle, and often acts like the bright shiny objects that distract earnest researchers and practitioners alike. I fully realize I'm likely ruffling some feathers and triggering a lot of you, especially if you're a practitioner, and yes, about 6 or 7 years of my own research was searching for physiological root causes, and it was an intense shock when I had this breakthrough and this awareness, and honestly, I was pretty pissed. On an energetic level, the root causes are, from my perspective, always 3 things, regardless of the specific challenge. First and foremost, the area of that challenge is expressing itself in a way that is leading to the dis-ease or the imbalance, and calibrating or measuring that expression helps me to understand not only the root cause, but also the way out, or what many would describe as the cure. And the calibration helps me to understand the difference between a vibrantly healthy tree and one that is experiencing dis-ease and perhaps even dying. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of this a whole lot further in this clip. I certainly do in my book, Heal Thyself, which you likely already know is included as part of the Quick Start Guide, and I explore all of this in even greater detail than in my book in my online and live workshops. And yet, even in this most simple form, this to me is very empowering information. The molecules in the healthy tree are expressing themselves differently. They are clustered, structured, arranged, and most importantly, they vibrate differently than those in the diseased and dying tree. And in theory, if we are successful in transforming the vibrational pattern, the form of the tree has to follow. In fact, it can't not. So I mentioned earlier that there are 3 root causes. The other 2 are, simply put, strong resistance, and this resistance is subconscious resistance, and weak allowance. And the subconscious resistance expresses itself, it shows up as resistance to physical well-being, or financial well-being, or emotional well-being, or even resistance to connecting with an ideal intimate partner. Resistance and allowance are opposites in many regards, and in each of the examples that I just mentioned, there would be weak allowance also present. You might be thinking this seems overly simplistic, and yet these 3 main tenets have been present with every single client I have personally worked with since 2005, and transforming, balancing, and restoring these areas are the keys to positive results. Certainly, each of these 3 variables is different for each person, and yet each of these 3 are the common threads. That's all I have for you today. Before you jump off, please share in the comment box below one thing that you're taking away from this clip, or one thing that you found interesting.